Welcome to the Unscripted Podcast. My name's Corby LaCroix, and the song you're hearing right now is called Great and Mighty One, available on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. But for now, recording from the Unscripted studio at the Junction in Old Hilliard, here's your host and my friend, Aaron Conrad.
Great Redeemer, God of grace.
All right, everybody, welcome to Unscripted from my basement, and I promise you it is coming. The Junction. Actually, I go to a preview tomorrow, depending on when you hear this. Thank you, Corby, for my introduction. I'm actually just going to go ahead and kick it right over to a friend that I just made here probably 5 minutes ago. We've gotten to know each other a little bit. Jessica, please introduce yourself and let everybody know a little bit about you.
Yeah, my name is Jessica Schmitt. I am a trainee with a professional ballet company here in Columbus currently. And I also started a business, Mindful Ontogeny. We do personal development and mindset coaching for individuals and teams, organizations, companies. I do some motivational speaking, and we also offer academic tutoring that incorporates a lot of mindset principles.
So that's you.
That's me.
That's you. Well, let me start by saying that you and I met through LinkedIn. And I have to say, I don't spend a ton of time on LinkedIn. I'm still trying to kind of find my way on there, but you've been huge support to me. We met as quote unquote friends on social media, which is the beauty of the platform of social media. Yeah. There's so much bad out there, but that's one of the good things. And so you have utilized that to make connections, and I'm so thankful for our connection and that we got a chance to meet, because I want to support you however I can. So that, just so everybody knows our connecting point, it was through LinkedIn. So anybody listening as a business, new business, anybody new starting out, anybody that's been in the business, get on LinkedIn, because there's a lot of good happening there, and it's not your parents' Facebook. So
No, absolutely. It's great. I mean, I literally was just like looking up like coaches and teachers, just people in the area, and just connecting. And it's crazy the amount of people who are just willing to have conversations with you and just reach out. And even if, you don't necessarily have a conversation, just saying like, hey, like, I think what you're doing is great. Like, it's just a really great community on there. So definitely, even if you're not in a business, get on LinkedIn. It's a great place to meet people.
Awesome. So tell us your story. Where did it all start? I know you have a dance career which has led to your business. Yeah. So let's start with let's just tell us your story, and then we will go from there, because I think we have a lot to cover. Yeah.
I guess I'll start, I'll do a kind of nutshell of my dance career and do a little bit more about the business right here. But so I started dancing when I was 3. My parents, I was that kid who was like running around the house, singing, dancing, loved Disney princesses, all of that, super active. And my parents like, well, we'll throw her in ballet. Let's see what happens. They had no idea what they were getting themselves into. I didn't either. I didn't actually start out as like a super committed dancer. It wasn't like I started my first class and was like, I want to be a dancer forever. Like, it was just a fun hobby for me. But then around 3rd grade, I kind of realized like I had a talent and I really, really enjoyed doing it. And my parents were like, if you want to go after this, like, you got to be committed, you got to go after it, and we'll support you in any way we can. We'll do everything we can. And so, I ended up dancing at a studio an hour away from home. I was up there all the time, driving back and forth, dancing. I ended up leaving home at 17, did my senior year online, and to join a trainee program with a professional company. And that's kind of led me to where I am now in my career. And so the business, it started actually last year during quarantine, with everything going on with COVID and how kids were having to switch to virtual learning and education. I always did really well in school, and I was that kid who, like, my peers would come up and be like, how do you do this? Like, I didn't understand the teacher. Can you explain it to me? And so I was like, I might be able to add some value here and really help kids go through this really challenging time. So I started the business as a tutoring business. And then as I myself kind of dove into personal development, which, to tie it back into dance, when I was a dancer, I struggled with some confidence and some self-image things. And I just kind of realized like I needed to change my mindset if I was going to be successful. And so that's how I fell into personal development. And the more I was learning and doing workshops and reading, I was like, more people need to know this, because I didn't know it before I really dove in. And I just kind of noticed like my peers and people around me, they just didn't have these concepts. They didn't have these ideas. And it's so vital to success and to happiness and fulfillment and all of that. And I was like, I have this vehicle of this business. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it so I can spread this, because it's so important. And then, so I created like the coaching. I do personal coaching now, mindset coaching. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw in motivational speaking too, because my dance journey is full of successes, but it also has a lot of failures, a lot of comebacks, perseverance, all of that. And I was like, I might really be able to relate to somebody, especially youth athletes. Because like I said, I'm still pursuing my professional career. So I'm going through exactly what they're going through right now, striving for a goal. I'm in it with them. And I was like, I could be able to share something, and it just might connect. Even if I connect with one person, like I helped one person, then I did my job.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
Are you in school now, Jessica?
I am doing college courses online. Yep.
And
my dancing. Sorry, my dancing. Yeah, my dancing is like full time. I dance during the day. Normally we're wrapping up our season right now, but normally during a typical week, I dance from like 9:30 to like anywhere from like 3:30, 4:30. So then I do online college courses and I do the business in the evenings, on the weekends, all of that.
Unbelievable. So when you say dance, just because this isn't the world I live in. When you say you dance full time, what does that mean? Like where is that? Is that with a company that you like? Is it a stage crew? Is it? Just help me understand that.
Yeah. So I'm a trainee with a professional company, a professional ballet company. So my primary dance style is ballet. And as a trainee, I train during the day. So I take a lot of classes. And then we rehearse for trainee performances. And then we also get the opportunity to perform with the company sometimes. So it's a lot of just training and classes. And then those rehearsals, getting to perform. And it's just kind of setting me up for when I eventually break into the professional world and finally get that position.
So I think a lot of people that are listening to this, including myself, understand the world of, let's just say, baseball. In baseball, you play high school, you play college, you might get drafted, you go into the minors, you make your way into the majors. From a dance perspective, what does that look like? Because it sounds like you're in that system, but it's just dance. So for my audience, what does that look like from a dance perspective?
Yeah, it's actually pretty similar. There's just different names to it. Okay. So during like middle school, high school, normally kids are in an academy or like a home dance studio. And that's just really like classes and you're just learning. And then when you really kind of decide you want to be a professional, there's three big like steps that you kind of take. So the first one is trainee. And that's kind of what I explained. You're still training, but it's setting you up for that professional experience. It's putting you in the professional environment. And the second one is second company. And that's really, those are really attached to the company. So they like take all the company classes, they rehearse with the company, but they also do a lot of like community outreach and they have their own performances. And then the professional company is where you're you're getting paid and you are like you take class in the morning, you rehearse all day, you're doing crazy performances. So there's like those three tiers, kind of like, high school, college, professional, but they just have different names for it in the dance world. Yeah. So
in the dance world, major league, whatever, or the NBA is the same as you said, company. Am I saying it right? Okay. So
absolutely. The professional company,
then I am a dancer that goes nation. How does that work? Do I go? And I want to get into your other business, but I think it helps us set the, absolutely, no pun intended, set the stage for your business. Because I think actually the more I'm learning as we're having this conversation, and hopefully people are listening, it's amazing that you're running a business in the meantime. So this is like me having just so my audience is just to be on the same page. This is like me having a conversation with a minor league player who's also trying to grow a business. Am I saying that correctly, Jessica?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Just so, again, because I don't think a lot of people have an understanding of dance. I just want to make sure I'm setting the stage, the fact, again, no pun intended, but I'm setting the stage for the fact that you're doing a lot. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. I acquired some really good time management skills in high school because I was doing high school and then driving and then dancing. So I just time management, yeah.
What a huge honor for me, honestly. And I mean this genuinely. And again, we're unscripted. So this is, I hate to keep making this parallel, but this is like me having a high school prodigy who, because I think a lot of my audience is male dominated. So I just want them to all be on the same page as I am right now. I think and please correct me if I'm wrong. This is like me having a high school prodigy who was driving an hour to practice during high school, and then I don't want to say again, we're not talking about the same things, but at the end of the day, went into the minors. And now they're in the minors, and they decided to start a business while trying to achieve the major leagues. Did I just say all that okay?
Yeah, that's definitely a good analogy for that. Yeah.
Unbelievable, Jessica. Unbelievable. Like, honestly.
Thank you.
Because I know how hard, and I have to imagine. So when you say classes, again, I hate to make this parallel, but I hate to make that. But when you say classes, that's like private lessons, practice for a baseball player. Is that fair? When you say classes,
so
what does it look like?
Let me break it down for you a little bit.
Awesome.
My schedule. So on a typical schedule, we start the day with like an hour and a half class every day, and that's a ballet class. Teacher comes in, and a ballet class is like you do the same thing every day, like a practice. We start with bar, and we do all the different combinations. We move into center. We do all the different combinations. We throw on our point shoes. And we're just like jumping, turning, all of that. What you see in the ballet videos is what I'm doing. And then a lot of times we will have either point or variations. So the point shoes, the shoes that allow you to stand on your toes, they're called point shoes.
Right.
So that class is specifically for developing point technique. And then variations, we just learn different like dances, I guess would be the easiest way to say it, that are in productions. So for example, we just finished like Sleeping Beauty. So there are variations within Sleeping Beauty. So we just learn them kind of not for fun, but to work on artistry and technique and all of that. And then we usually have like a 45-minute lunch sometime during the day. And then we rehearse, anywhere from like 45 minutes to 2+ hours, what we're going to be performing. Wow. And then we also have modern classes and Pilates classes different days of the week.
Unbelievable. So it's constant training at the end of the day. So what is your, if I wanted to be in game, and I'm so sorry. I hate to keep making a sports analogy, but it's totally fine. I want to make sure our audience appreciates who I have on right now, because I'm truly blown away of who I have on right now as a guest, because I don't think so many people, we see ESPN's not covering dance. For example, just for fairness, ESPN is not covering dance. So I'm not inundated with what that looks like. That's the world I understand. But I want to make sure, at the end of the day, I'm blown away, and I'm so honored that you would come on. And eventually I want to get to your business, because that's even more remarkable. But let's talk about your dance. So if you are spending your entire day doing basically Pilates, you said Pilates, it's all workouts all day long.
Yeah. Dancers are definitely professional athletes. I think a lot of people kind of get that mixed up. It's like, 100%. Oh, you're a ballerina. Like, okay, like you dance. Like, no, we are professional athletes. Like we have to take seminars on injury prevention, sometimes diet. Like we have to be on top of our game all the time. We come home and we're rolling out and icing, and we have injuries, and it's legit. We are really putting our bodies, and with dance, not to make like any other sport seem like less hard. Like I totally get other sports, but like dance, you're contorting your body in ways that it's not supposed to go. Your leg is not supposed to be way up above your head.
100%.
And so that creates other stresses and injuries that you don't find in other places. So it's very, very intense. Yeah, it's definitely like a workout from like 9 until 4. It's intense.
Your feet alone. I mean, at the end of the day, like seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, the only guy I know that could stand on his toes was Michael Jackson. That's probably predating you because I don't know how old you are, but I might even ask you that question later. But at the end of the day, Michael Jackson was the only guy I knew that could stand on his feet, and he was using penny loafers. You all are standing in those little slippers. How and we're way up, and maybe we're not off track. I don't know.
No, you're not.
Unscripted. Welcome to Unscripted.
You're fine.
So how do your feet handle, because you're dancing on your toes quite a bit, correct?
Yeah. So the point shoes they're not totally soft. They're actually hard. There's like it's called a box, so they're hard in there. And it's like a flat surface, and it's like a hard box, and then you have like it's called a shank. It's like a hard piece that goes up underneath the sole of your foot. And so what we do is we essentially just have toe pads. They're like a little piece of like cloth or gel, whatever you decide. Put it over your toes. You stick your toes in the shoes, tie them up, and then it's not like it's not like you're just going up on your toes like without anything on. There's definitely support. The shoes are there. They hold you up there. But yeah, it takes years and years of getting used to it. I mean, when you first start point, it's quite honestly, it's excruciating pain, really, is what it is. It's hard, but you eventually get used to it. And the pain, I still get blisters. I still get bruised toenail. It still hurts for sure, but I definitely have a much better pain tolerance for it now than I did when I started when I was 11. So
I don't even understand that kind of pain. I don't. So I'm sorry to get stuck on that, but now I'm absolutely fascinated. Yeah. So let's just say the Nutcracker runs for a week long in Columbus, Ohio. And this is the only dance. That's just not my world. You run for a week long. That same person is probably the lead actress or dancer in that company, as you said. What's her situation for the entire week? Is your foot just so trained that it's good to go?
So actually, the studio I'm at, or the company I'm at, does 3 weeks. So during Christmas week, it's like a full week, and then they do weekends for about 3 weeks. And there's actually not just one person who does like the lead roles. They have different casts, and usually there's like 4 or 5 casts. So like you're performing multiple roles in a show. So one day you might be doing the lead, and then the next day you might be doing like a smaller part. And the leads usually get more off days. They might do smaller parts in their off days because the lead parts are so intense. But if you're not a lead part and you're just doing the core, you might be dancing every single day, the same part. So it really kind of depends on like what they cast you in. But yeah, it's again, you get used to it. So you're definitely like trained. And like the schedule is different when you're performing. You're not taking as many classes during the day. You're doing more injury prevention and more rest for sure, because it is so intense. Not only just dancing, but the adrenaline, it takes a toll on your body. But yeah, so Nutcracker Run is intense for sure. I keep saying intense. But yeah, it's just, you're kind of going. You're running on adrenaline essentially. And it's definitely painful. Injuries happen mid-show. But at the end of the day, like dancers love performing and being on stage. That's why we dance. So Nutcracker, yeah, it's super stressful, super chaotic, and hurts, and the toes and all of that. But at least for me, I love it. It's just like, it's why I do what I do. Being on stage is just like, I can't even explain the feeling. It's just like, I've never experienced the level of joy that I have while being on stage. I'll put it that way.
It's remarkable. Jessica, we're just meeting today. And do you mind if I ask your age or ish? What's your age?
I'm a freshman in college.
Freshman in college. I am blown away by your maturity. You are wise beyond your years. And anybody listening to this, please needs to know we've never met outside of LinkedIn again. So you have utilized a tool like LinkedIn for us to make this connection. And I just have to tell you, I'm blown away by your maturity, by your understanding your why. And that's what I really wanted to say was you clearly understand your why. I mean, God gifted us for each one of us for something, and you have clearly understood and are passionate about that. Now, and I hate to transition unless you want to talk dance more, because I could talk dance all day now. I'm locked in. I'm seriously intrigued. But what I really want to talk about that where you and I met is, and I hope I say this correctly, Mindful Ontogeny.
Yep.
Ontogeny. Everybody knows I'm not very bright. So can you please explain what Mindful Ontogeny is?
Yeah. I guess I'll start with the name, because I know it's a kind of a complicated name, and I always get asked like, why that name? So ontogeny basically means like development from young years to maturity. And so mindful ontogeny, like conscious mindful development. That's really, it just kind of encompasses what we do. So we offer personal development and mindset coaching for individuals, and then for also like athletic teams, organizations, that kind of thing. And that is really, the individual coaching is really just like, we just talk with the person. We're like, what's going on with you? Like, what are you feeling? What are you struggling with? What are you succeeding at? And then I'm able to kind of just like take what they say to me and be like, okay, like, here's what I want you to know. And I just kind of like not even teach, but just like share what I've been taught, what I've learned through personal development, these ideas of like self-image and confidence and identity, and just like all of those things that are just so important to success. And the same thing goes with the like team coaching. I have created a program for athletic teams. It's like 7 weeks, and then you can add on different weeks. And we go through where there's a week about like confidence, there's a week about goal setting, there's a week about visualization, like all those things that are like so important to success that we don't realize have such a big impact on success and happiness and goal achievement and all of that. And then motivational speaking, I really talk about just my dance journey. I highlight different points in my career. Maybe we can touch on a few of them later, where I experienced big failure, and how I kind of overcame that. And I'm the first to admit, I did not have a great mindset from probably like sophomore year of high school until the end of quarantine, until like August. I did not really believe fully in myself. I was really hard on myself. And that's why I started this, because I went through all that self-doubt and thinking I'm never going to make it. I'm not a good dancer. And I don't want people to go through that. I don't want anyone to have to go through that like negativity and that self-doubt and not believing in yourself. And so if I can just like keep someone from experiencing all of that pain, then that just like fills my heart so much. So yeah, the motivational speaking, I highlight like failures, successes, what I've done to get where I am now, because it's all mindset. Dance is it's a physical thing, but I would argue it's more of a mind thing for sure. And then the academic tutoring is really just like helping with coursework, helping with homework, but then also incorporating that mindset and just really like helping the student believe in themselves. Because the main thing I've seen is like kids these days don't believe in themselves. They're constantly told not to, almost like, you're not good enough. Why don't you have straight A's? You're never going to get into a good college this way, this and this and this. And it's like, no, there's that famous quote by Albert Einstein. He said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to spend its whole life thinking it's stupid. And I just think that's like so applicable. Like you might not be destined to be an Ivy League student, but there's something greater for you. God has a greater purpose for all of us, and we have to find it. And I just want to help people like have that belief in themselves and that mindset where they can find it and they can go and reach that success, because we all have these like insanely abundant reservoirs of potential within all of us. It's literally limitless, and we don't realize it. It's really hard to comprehend like just the extent that humans can succeed. And so I just want to help people like develop the mindset and just like get them to that happiness, and where they can just be like, yes, like this is my life. I'm here. I'm happy. I'm doing what I was supposed to do. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm half of 100. So, and I think I just found out within the last year, my sweet spot in life, and based on what other people are telling me. And again, I don't believe in myself a lot. If I'm just real transparent, I don't believe in myself a lot. So for people to say, I hear it a lot now. And so I'm like, okay, well, there must be something to that. Cause that's what I've always told people is, I had a cup of coffee in ministry, and, everybody's always searching for their why, why to, and what God made them for. And it's like, well, it's honestly not that hard. It's what's that thing that you do, whether it's brakes on a car and somebody says, man, how did you do that? Well, I mean, if that seems really easy to you, start there, if it's singing and somebody's like, wow, you have a beautiful voice and singing just seems easy to you, start there. Because I honestly think we try to complicate it and think God has this huge plan for us, when the reality is it's not that hard. And we just need to really just tune into what other people tell us. So like I said, I'm half of 100, and it took me a really long time, but I think I found my place. I know I found my place where I'm really happy. And it sounds like much earlier in life, you've found that sweet spot in your life.
I was so blessed. I found it really early. And like I said, I didn't know that I wanted to do this like when I was 3 years old. It took me until I was about in like 4th grade. So I was like 10, but even like that's so early to find what you truly want to do. And I'm so blessed that I found it that early. Yeah.
Well, you're clearly wise beyond your years. You speak your professionalism for your age. I have to tell you, and now I'm gonna sound like a dad, but honestly, your professionalism for your age is really remarkable. I have to be true. And your again, I go back to LinkedIn again, and this isn't a promo for LinkedIn, but your ability to understand a platform that's available to you and use it is how you and I met. And I think you probably made a lot of other connections as well. So what I have to imagine last year was tough in 2 ways, but it sounds like because of that, again, this is why I think I'm just so impressed with you, because I think the last year had to be tough from your day job, which is dance, because everything was shut down. So there was no performance. I'm guessing you'll have to fill in the blanks, but
I'll definitely.
And from that, you developed a business. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So what happened for me, March last year, the company shut down and I went back home thinking it was only going to be 3 weeks. And I ended up being there for, like 4 months. Didn't bring any summer clothes with me.
Oh, no.
But that was fun. But yeah, it was really hard. I was taking Zoom ballet classes in my living room, and to set the scene, my living room's like hardwood floor with like a carpet, like a rug in the middle. And I didn't have a bar really. So I held on to the banister of my stairwell, tiny little space, and did ballet. And then I would move to a different place, like right in front of our bay windows, and do center. And I'd kick the lamp, or it was just, I couldn't turn. The wood floor shredded my ballet shoes. And then for point, I would have to go downstairs on my carpet, where we had, funny story, the Gap at our mall went out of business and they were selling the clothing racks. And my dad was like, oh, like this kind of looks like a ballet bar. I'll buy it for you. So we had this $20 clothing rack from Gap that the one side lifted up and down. And I would hold on to that on my carpeted floor in my point shoes, trying to do point, it was so hard. And not even that, but just like keeping up the motivation to do Zoom classes, because we didn't see an end in sight. We had no idea when there would be a performance or when we would get back in the studio. And to dance in such a limited space, dance is supposed to be like free and enjoyable, and you're confined. And it was so hard to keep up the motivation to keep going. And then I actually did not perform for a year and a half. We just finished yesterday filming our first, we didn't get to do a live audience this year, but we did get to film our performance. And before that, my last performance had been Nutcracker last year. So it was literally a year and a half I hadn't been on stage, which was really hard, because that for me is like why I dance. And so it became a year of just like, you just got to get through it. Like just push through, just do work on improving, just improve as a dancer, get your technique back that you lost during quarantine. All dancers lost it. And that was really challenging. But during quarantine, so my parents actually have been into personal development. So like, even though I didn't necessarily like dive in until about a year ago, they have been in it. And so my upbringing kind of incorporated some of it without me really realizing it. But during quarantine, my dad found Tony Robbins' personal power audio tapes on YouTube. And he was like, I'm going to do this. It's 30 days. I'm going to do it. You should do it too. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I did it, and I did it, and I was taking the notes and doing the activities, but my heart wasn't fully in it at the time, because I was still kind of in that mindset. Like, I don't know, I was just kind of thinking like a teenager, and like, oh, like, I don't know, I just didn't have the best mindset that I could have. But then what happened was, during the summer, a lot of things happened in my life. You know, quarantine was going on, and then my high school graduation, some stuff happened with that. Beyond just like I didn't graduate, there was other things that happened, and just other things. And I just kind of had a moment where I was like, I am letting external events and people completely dictate my internal world. I felt so conflicted inside. And all of a sudden I stopped, and I was like, I am giving my mental energy to people and things that don't deserve it. I'm wasting that. And not that I ever like stopped going for my goals. I was always like executing. I've always been very driven. So I was always doing what I needed to get to my goals, but I was like, I am not living up to my fullest potential right now mentally. Like, my mind isn't there, and I can do so much better. And I got really angry with myself. I was like, why aren't you doing what you should be doing? And there was a night I was on the phone with a friend, and I just had a moment, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I refuse to let external events control me like this anymore. I was like, I'm done. No one is going to take my energy away from my goals that way anymore. That's what's important to me. That's what I'm going to pour everything into. And I got off the phone with my friend, and I just sat on my bed, and I wrote in my notebook. I ended up writing 4 paragraphs of affirmations, and then all of my goals. It took me like an hour. I wrote and wrote and wrote. And then I got up, I looked at myself in the mirror in the bathroom, and I reread it to myself and looked myself in the eyes, and I was like almost crying. I was like yelling at myself silently because the whole house was asleep. And I was like yelling these things to myself. And then I went to bed. I woke up the next morning, and I did it again. I started doing it morning and night. And that was like the turning point for me, where I was like, enough's enough. Like, I'm going to fix my mindset. I'm going to get rid of the self-doubt. I'm going to not let these things affect me so much. Like, I have to be in control, and I am not going to let anything get in the way of me succeeding at the highest possibility that I can. Nothing's going to stop. Nothing. And it was my own mindset that was holding me back. And I was like, well, I'm going to fix it. So then, yeah, that was the moment when I jumped into personal development. I started reading everything. I went to like all the free seminars, all the free workshops. Yeah. And it's been like, it honestly changed my life. Like, I feel like self-development, like personal development, gets this like weird rap almost, like, oh, like that's kind of like voodoo. Like, no, it's actually, when you really look into it and read it, it's just like, you're really just learning about like values, and just like, it's really hard to explain. But when you start to learn the principles, for me at least, I've just been overcome with like gratitude, and just like, I love life. Like, it's just, I'm so happy that I'm here and I'm doing what I love. And that's why I wanted to be able to share it. Cause I was like, especially during COVID, I mean, everything was so hard for people. And it took me the entire quarantine of like really being, it was really hard. And then finally I was like, enough's enough. No, I'm done. And so I was like, you know what? Everyone's going through it right now. Like, we need this more than ever. More than ever.
100%.
Yeah.
No doubt. And I was just thinking, as you were talking again, I think you're wise beyond your years, and you may not even realize how wise you may be. And that's a compliment, because I think you're jumping right into a stream that, and I've mentioned this on multiple podcasts, but I have 3 children, as you probably know. My biggest concern throughout the entire COVID thing was honestly not even getting COVID, which maybe I should have been more worried about. But my biggest concern was the mental wellness of all 3 of my children. I have a pitcher, I have a track athlete, I have a swimmer. I have 3 children. Besides their athletic accomplishments, I have 3 children. And so I'm useless to them in terms of the athleticism, but I try to be their mind coach. Like if you had a bad outing as a pitcher, hey, it's okay. If we're getting ready to run your first, track meet, whatever it is, that's where I've always tried to find my fill or my space with them is in the mind. I can't really help them hold on athleticism, but but I think my concern has been that was taken away. And so how do you replace that? What do you replace that with? I mean, myself included, I think the average weight gain during COVID was 20 to 40 pounds, because I think we all replaced what was missing with something else. And you're jumping into a space where yes. And again, all respect to those who have had COVID and have issues, and we don't even know what long-term the effects are. Right. But I think we do know the fact that a lot of people are struggling mental health wise. And what I love about the fact where we are in the world, I'm sorry to go on a little bit of a thing, but I think where I love where we are in the world is that we're finally acknowledging that we have mental health issues and people are okay to not be okay. Where, when I was in high school, again, I'm probably twice your age. When I was in high school, you didn't talk about it. There wasn't the okay to go to the doctor and talk about it. There wasn't the okay to come out and say, I'm not okay. You just got either bullied or you fought your way through it. And I think, and I don't know who listens to this and what their thoughts on that are, but I do like that we are at a place in society where people can at least admit I'm not okay. And so to have resources like yourself, sorry to go a really long way to get there, but my point was, I think you're getting into this space, and if anyone's watching this, they see your glow. If anyone's listening, they probably hear the glow that you have and the joy that you have and the fact that you love your life. And there's so many people that don't love life, like that were just existing. During COVID, we didn't even know what day it was anymore. Literally, you just got up and you just did it again, whatever the next thing was. And so we're all kind of getting back to life again. And I think we all need a little bit of a buoy or a sail or something to say, okay, here you go. Here's a little bit of help. Let's get back to who we were and what we were. So that was a really long-winded response, but I think you're getting in right at the right time. And I love your energy and the glow that you have and the excitement you have to help others. Because it sounds like you were able to kind of navigate your way through that.
Yeah. And I have to be like totally transparent. It was not like I've never done personal development, like all of this, anything I've done in my life. I've never really done it without my parents. My parents, like they've done personal development. I can't even begin to explain the impact that they've had on my life. Like just not even just like with dance, the support, the sacrifices, but even just like the mindset, like my dad really, oh my gosh, with the mindset, he was the one who kind of told me, he was like, look, like your mindset right now, you're going to be the one who holds you back. Like, you're not going to be successful because you don't believe in yourself. And he would tell me, like, everyone around you believes in you. Like, why don't you believe in yourself? But I'll never forget when I was a little girl. I mean, we have these little, like, they're not like inside jokes, but they're these little inside things. And there's one thing that he always told me. He was like, you are a rock, you are La Máquina, which is Spanish for the machine. And he was like, you can do anything you set your mind to. One time, I remember him like just holding my head and just looking me in the eyes and be like, you can do anything you set your mind to. I was probably like 5. And I was just like, yeah, like I can. And I lost that for a little bit. And finally I got it back. But there's always one thing that we do. When I was really young, he was like, do your best and forget the rest. Do your best and forget the rest. He like ingrained that in my mind. And then whenever I went into like a big performance or anything, or if I was struggling with anything, he would just say, do your best. And I would just be like, forget the rest. And that's our thing. So I love it. Yeah, he honestly inspires me to do all this personal development and just like be a better person because of what he's offered me in that respect.
There's no doubt in my mind that you and I don't know if it was your parents, because again, you and I don't know each other well, but someone has raised you well, and clearly it's your parents.
My parents.
You're right. Your dad's right. My mom used to say the same thing. I remember I would get frustrated with things, and she would always say, "Well, take what you think applies and throw the rest away." You know, our parents give us these little nuggets that I'm telling you, and you'll see this in life. The rest of your life, they will just continue to grow, and you'll find yourself going back to those moments. My mom used to always say all the time, take what you think applies and throw the rest away. And it's so simple, it's so simple, but it's proven over and over and over again to be very powerful in my life. And I always need to reach back to that. So shout out to your mom and dad, because they've done a great job raising.
Yes. They really have. They'll listen to this. So thank you, mom and dad, so much.
100%. I've never met him. I hope to meet him someday and shake your dad's hand and tell him he's raised an amazing child. So, all right. What are the ways that this audience can help you?
Can help me? Well, definitely follow my business's Instagram. It's just at Mindful Ontogeny. I'll spell it quick. MindfulOntogeny. So it's just at Mindful Ontogeny, all one word. You can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. Just in the little message, say like, hey, I heard your Unscripted podcast. That way I know where you're coming from. So I'll make sure to connect with you then. It's just Jessica Schmitt. It should say like owner of Mindful Ontogeny on there. You can visit my website, www.mindfulontogeny.com. And there's a little bio about me on there. Talks a little bit about what the business does. And you can fill out, there's several forms. If you are interested in any of the coaching, any of the speaking, any of it, there's different forms that you could fill out, and just, it kind of asks you like a little bit about your mindset, a little bit about who you are, how we can contact you. And then we can talk if you want. And also if anyone just like needs someone to talk to, like you're like, hey, like, I don't believe myself, or this has been really hard for me, or I'm facing this, I lost my job, whatever, like DM me, message me on LinkedIn. Like I just want to help people. So like, just reach out and I'll definitely have a conversation with you, and just maybe we can work through something and at least help you find the blessing in it. Because really, that's something I've learned in my dance career. Like every failure is just a blessing in disguise. It really is. Mm-hmm. God's just guiding us. I always tell the story of my very first summer intensive audition rejection. My very first audition ever, I was rejected. And at the time it was devastating. It was so devastating. It was my first real failure. And I look back, and if I didn't get rejected from that company, I probably wouldn't be in the company I'm at now. And so God wasn't telling me like, you're not a good dancer. God was telling me that's just not the right place for you at the moment. I want you here. Yeah, that's just a little nugget for anyone. Like if you're facing a failure, it's a blessing. Just power through, because you're going to look back in a year or 5 or whenever, you're going to be like, thank God that I had that failure, because look where I am now.
For sure. Well, Jessica, I don't know how many people we're going to bless with this. I guarantee we're going to bless somebody. I guarantee it. And if not, I can tell you blessed me. I literally had no idea what we were going to talk about today, because we've just met on LinkedIn, with just some likes and shares and comments. You have absolutely blessed me today. I know you'll bless my wife too, who's probably going to listen to this when she's out walking and running. And so I guarantee you'll bless her as well. And so thank you for your joy, because honestly, we're getting into a place where we're kind of coming back into the world is healing again. Yeah. We all don't know where to start. And so I don't think a lot of us are coming out with the joy. I know we're excited to get back to life. I just went to the gas station. Nobody had a mask on. Awesome. But I don't think we're all coming out of it happy. We're all just coming out of it glad that we don't have to wear a mask, and now I'm on another rant. But I think for us to, I don't know if a lot of people found their purpose during COVID and the shutdowns and all the other stuff that we've gone through. We probably just existed. And so I'm really thankful that someone like yourself it has that joy, because we need someone up front with a bright light that's taking us back into the sunlight, so to speak. And I don't know if that even makes sense, but
it does.
I'm so thankful for our time today. I really mean that. Genuinely, I'm thankful for our time. I'll have, in case anybody's driving down the road and listening, I'll have all these links in the various places that I put them, so you can find them as well. But please reach out to Jessica, support her, because first of all, you're wise beyond your years. You're a freshman in college, for goodness sake. That's unbelievable to me, to have so much sense and purpose and joy. And just your parents have done an amazing job, and you've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Because not every, there's a lot of great parents out there, but not all children choose the path that you have chosen. And so shout out to your parents, shout out to you. I'm just a fan. If there's any resource that I can have as Unscripted, please let me know. You have a forever friend now, and we'll connect offline with some other, phone numbers and things like that, because I'm a phone call away from any resource I can give you, because I really believe in everything you're doing. I really do.
Thank you. And likewise, if there's anything I can ever do to help you with your podcast or anything,
thank you.
Just send me a call. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we'll connect offline, and gosh, thank you. All right. Last time, let's run through it one more time. Best way to get a hold of you. So if I'm driving down the road right now, what's the easiest way for me to get a hold of Jessica, because I'm interested in something that you've discussed?
Yeah, I would say either DM my business on Instagram at Mindful Ontogeny, or connect with me on LinkedIn and in the message say, I heard your podcast, and then maybe a little description about why you want to connect, or just even, I heard your podcast, and I'll make sure to connect with you, and then you can just message me. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, you're a blessing. What's next for you?
Thank you.
What's the next thing on your radar?
So,
actually, hang on. I might have just jumped the shark because you told me I can't. We can't talk about it, right?
Well, I'll just say.
Welcome to Unscripted.
I'll just say. No, you're fine. I have some exciting dance things coming up. I can't go into too much detail right now.
There you go.
Gotta make sure everything's like fully secure. But I have some really exciting steps in my dance career coming up. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's my next step. But right now I'm ending my season. I'm going to see my family soon, and awesome. Just have a great summer.
There you go. Well, enjoy your summer. You've got a friend in me forever. If you need anything, you know where to contact me, and we will exchange some things offline. Please, anyone listening to this, reach out to Jessica. If nothing else, please reach out and support and encourage, because she's wise beyond her years. And tell your mom and dad I personally said thank you for raising a great daughter. Okay.
I will. Yeah, they will appreciate that.
Awesome. We will be in touch. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
This has been the latest episode of the Unscripted Podcast with your host, Aaron Conrad, from his studio at the Junction in Old Hilliard. Make sure to like, share, follow, and review on your favorite podcast platforms. Also, make sure to check out my song Great and Mighty One on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you find your music. We'll be back with another great guest soon. We'll see you next time.